Hi everybody, Tim Hughes here. I'm the CEO and co-founder of DLA Ignite. With me today I've got Kamales Lardi, and we're going to be talking about her new book, Artificial Intelligence for Business, Harness AI for Value Growth and Innovation. Kamales, where can we find you?
Hi, Tim. Thank you for having me. You can find me on LinkedIn. I'm quite active. Also on my website, lardiandpartner.com. And you can find the book on pretty much any book retailer, as well as the Kogan Page website and Amazon.
Okay, thank you. I love the book. It's the book I've been looking for a little while, because I'd read lots of books about AI, but what I wanted to do was actually read about how we can actually apply it to business, and this is the first one that I've read on that. So thank you for that. What was your inspiration behind writing it?
Well, exactly what you just described, right? We've seen so much hype around AI the last couple of years, and although the field has been around since the 50s, I think there's been the last couple of years has really been the breakthrough for artificial intelligence across business and private application as well. But I struggled to find any kind of a playbook or a content or source that offers a business leader direction and guidance on how to apply it for business and what a business leader should know at the end of the day. And it's not about the technical aspects, it's not about the technologies themselves, but it's more about how do you get commercial and business value from this technology, and how do you make it scalable within your own organization. And so I wanted to create this sort of playbook and guide for business leaders to take into their organizations and kind of apply within that environment. And another key aspect is also there's a lot of discussion around artificial intelligence, but no one describes what intelligence is and how it differs from human intelligence. And so that's how I start the book. I think chapter 1 really goes into that aspect of what is human intelligence, what is artificial intelligence, and how the two can kind of coexist and work together in a business landscape.
Yeah, and I really, as I said, I really enjoyed it, and I think that you go into, well, for me it's very different from just a book on artificial intelligence, because you actually need to pick it up up a level in terms of the fact that we're talking business here rather than going into some of the detail of the AI. Interesting. How does a business though become an AI driven business?
Well, that's a really great question. For me, the way I define it is an organization is able to fundamentally change how they operate and create value or deliver value within the market that they're in, or for the customers that they engage with. And this really means not just utilizing AI as a technology solution within one space of their business, but really being able to utilize the technology or leverage AI-based technologies across the entire organization. And with that comes organization-wide transformation, right? Looking at your skill sets and capabilities, looking at organization structures and roles, looking at processes and workflows, as well as your strategic direction of the organization and your business and revenue model. So really organization-wide change that leverages this AI as a key technology for delivery, basically.
Because I think there's something very different, isn't there, in terms of we've all got access to ChatGPT or Google Gemini, and I think that we're, many of us, if they haven't got used to it, we kind of need to start using it. But that's us from a personal perspective. From a company perspective, it's very different, isn't it?
It's absolutely
not necessarily the technology, but how we go about it.
Absolutely, it's very different. And I think that there's two sides of the coin as well. Companies are dealing with the fact that at a personal level or individual level, there's such a rapid rate of adoption. In fact, organizations are seeing employees are adopting AI-based technologies 3 times faster than they expect. So you're seeing this massive shift across the workforce, but the organization environment is still operating very much in a traditional approach, right? Many companies are still in that phase of exploration of AI solutions, or even looking at AI mainly for efficiencies, right? So cost reductions or productivity or operational efficiencies. And so we're seeing the systemic changes or system changes happening at a very technological level or technology infrastructure level, we're seeing far less of organizations looking at AI-based experiences being implemented organization-wide. So what this means is using AI-type solutions for all of their customer and touchpoint interactions, or for transforming their products and services that are being offered in the market. And even less of AI breakthroughs, where you're creating a business model or an operating model that's truly AI-based. And so we're seeing companies still at the very early, nascent levels of AI adoption, really focused on some of the kind of low-hanging fruits. And what this means for organizations is your workforce is getting more sophisticated on their use of AI, their ability to engage with these technologies. There's no fundamental kind of infrastructure or governance structures around how these technologies should or could be used within their business space as well.
Because we saw the announcement from the Shopify CEO back in April, where he said that every employee needs to be able to use AI in some shape or form.
Well, there's been quite a few companies that have come out. I think Duolingo did something similar as well. And, other companies that have sort of announced going AI first. And AI first, or AI instead of people, is not really AI driven. So I would challenge the organizations to look deeper inside around how are you really improving your customer experience with these decisions, right? And are you really aligning to the purpose and values of the organization, the fundamental purpose of the organization, why you exist in the first place? And I would also look at what it means when you say AI first. Does that mean that you've transformed your organization internally? Have you transformed your processes, your structures, and your systems, as well as how you fundamentally operate the environment or the business to be AI first? That means you're getting rid of people or potentially replacing people with these technologies. You need a way to govern these technologies so that they deliver similar or better services to your customers. And so I challenge whether these organizations have really looked into transformation within themselves in order to make such an announcement, or is it just surface level? And another key fundamental aspect is also the ethics of it, right? Once you put out such an announcement, you're taking away that human oversight potentially that governs how these technologies are used for your customers. And Shopify, as well as and Duolingo, they're incredibly human-centric, right? The customers they serve are the people. And so how are you going to govern these environments without that human oversight? You're really, truly depending then on the systems being able to do the right things in the right way. So there's a lot of question marks, I feel, and somehow these sort of announcements tend to be more surface level and promotional to a certain extent.
So, what is an AI strategy for business, and how do we build one?
Well, the way I describe it in my book is it goes down a very transformation or digital transformation journey, which is define your strategy and vision. What is your organization's expectations for AI? And this could be looking at a 3-year time frame or a 5-year time frame to really understand where do you envision yourself as an organization in that time frame. And what's going to be possible. And so what could be different with the AI space is really the rate of change that's happening. So the rate of change could be accelerated compared to technologies that we had before or disruptions that we had before. And so that has to be taken into account. And also looking at your strategies around how much are you willing to invest? How aggressive should you be? Are you going to be a fast follower? Are you going to be a leader in this space? And what that means for your organization. Also looking at the risk appetite and readiness in the organization. Are you willing to take the risks that come with AI adoption, which means that you need to ensure that you have governance aspects in place, compliance aspects in place as well. Regulatory compliance is also a big space that needs to be taken into consideration. And your organization and culture readiness. Are the people in the company ready to take on these technologies? That's a huge question mark. And in conversations that I'm having with leadership teams, what I keep hearing from C-level executives is we've got great people who have knowledge of the technology. They can come up with fantastic use cases, transformative ideas for using AI in business. But where we're truly struggling is having this culture and people readiness. As much as we want to put out the technology and the solutions, people are not using them because there's a certain element of fear, there's a certain element of mindset shift that has to happen in order to truly leverage the value of these technologies. And so that's creating such a barrier for companies. As fast as you want to go, you're only as strong or only as quick as your weakest link. And in this sense, not to say that people are weak, but people are the element that could really make or break your AI driven strategy. And so really coming back to understanding where people are today in your company and how these technologies can add value for them, and starting that sort of culture shift and readiness shift that's needed in order to leverage technology better is so crucial. And so that's where I would start for companies.
Because if I'm going through my timeline on LinkedIn, most of the discussion about AI is either about how to use ChatGPT to do something for myself, or it's about data.
Yeah.
And your book is different because of the way that it's actually positioning it about, okay, what's the strategy for the business? How does that work? How do we disseminate the strategy? How do we disseminate the training and the vision, etc., to the people, which is very different from a discussion about structured and unstructured data.
Absolutely. And I think that discussion around data is so crucial because, and I do describe this in the book as well, it's a prerequisite for any AI application within the organization. You need to have the right data, you need to have the right quality of data, and you need to have the right structure behind it in order to leverage these AI-based technologies. So that's crucial. But that's not the only question. And in my eyes, it's one part or one piece of the puzzle. In order to truly ensure your organization-wide transformation aligns with this AI direction, you need to have all the pieces of the puzzle slowly develop together. And what organizations can do is really start with exploration and experimentation, which is what we're seeing in the market. Most companies start with that space, but where I'm seeing companies sort of neglect or fall behind is creating a safe exploration environment for the employees and the people within the organization. So creating sort of a sandbox environment, not just for the tech teams, but also for the business teams and for all of the other people within your workforce. So they start getting used to how AI could be used within their business space. And it is crucial to start building up capabilities, for example, prompt engineering and those kinds of capabilities, which are new skills that we need to almost build up across the board. But my advice to companies really is to have sort of 3 levels of your workforce transformation, starting off with your organization-wide capabilities, right? What's the knowledge and skill you need to have all through the organization? It doesn't matter what function or level you're in. And that could be information around ethical use or safe use of AI, boundaries around data and information sharing, governance boundaries, and to create a sense of psychological safety as well, which is something that I find companies are really not paying attention to. You need to have a workforce that feels comfortable enough to raise the hand and say, this output from this AI system has an anomaly or has an error, or it cannot be trusted as much as we think it can be trusted. And that level of confidence in order to raise your hand and say, hey, let's take a stop and assess what's coming out of this AI system. I'm not sure it may be biased. I'm not sure it's absolutely right. To create that sort of safe space where there's no repercussions for kind of speaking up, that is something that organization-wide has to be built as part of your business and culture. And the second element is looking at really your functional-based use of the technology. So this could be specific knowledge that you might need around data science or data analytics or output interpretation and things like that. And then you have role-specific knowledge or skills or upskilling that's needed, right? So looking at individual roles or functions within your business and what specific trainings and capabilities are needed in order to effectively use AI. So there's sort of a journey that companies need to develop for these transformation efforts, and taking your workforce along in this journey is so crucial.
Because you talk in the book about different frameworks that you suggest. And for example, when you're creating your strategy, you talk about the why, vision, and objectives framework. You also talk about the scout, shape, and shift framework as well. So talk to us about that, because that's about getting AI workforce ready, isn't it?
Absolutely, and this is actually it's taken from McKinsey's, and it's quite a practical approach for organizations to take, which is really looking at, and this is something we as an organization utilize when we work with companies for AI workforce transformation. We really look at where your organization is today, what the workforce is, what their capabilities are today. So that involves skills analysis, looking at current tasks and kind of workflows, understanding that current environment. So that's the scout aspect. You want to see what's there, and you want to understand how much of what's currently available and being done in the company, how much of that can be automated with AI? How much can you optimize with AI? So in one recent AI marketing transformation that we did for a consumer finance company, over 80% of what the teams were doing could be automated, right? Just with generative AI. And so it really shifts the perspective around how your teams are structured, because you don't need a team of 5 or 6 people anymore. You need a team of maybe 2. And their focused task is around the strategic aspects and the oversight or the approvals of what's being done. So much of the work could then be automated, and the teams could then be focused towards doing critical tasks. And then the shape aspect, which is the next phase, is really looking at redesigning. And the redesign happens with AI in mind. So looking at your processes, your workflows, and really transforming the way things are done today, redesigning the workflows according to AI applications within those spaces. So a good amount of that is really understanding the capabilities of these technologies, which types of technologies could be utilized. So we don't go into the level of tool selection, but we go to the level of understanding functionalities and really redesigning those workflows. And then the third element is the transform or shift element, where you really transform the way people work. And this involves, training. So you kind of have a to-be environment, what you want to have, and then you have the current. And you bridge the gap by having trainings in place, upskillings, communicating the new workflows, new ways of working, and of course, new ways of measuring success in those environments as well. And so all of these come together as sort of a journey for organizations to go from one place to another with AI.
And I think that, one of the things you cover in the book is you go from strategy right down to the scout shape shift framework. And for any organization where they're going through any level of digital transformation or AI transformation, there's going to be changes in process. There's going to be changes in working practice.
Mm-hmm.
And this idea of making sure that there's psychological safety for people, because everybody knows that if AI is going to be implemented, the number of people that's going to be required is probably going to go down.
And this is a very important.
That's going to have a cultural impact to the businesses.
Absolutely. And this is a crucial question to raise and to ask and to answer. And organizations, as they go through this sort of AI transformation journey, they need to address this proactively. And I really urge leadership teams to put that on the table as a question, because it's a fear that can create a situation where people push away from AI, right? They resist the transformation. They don't want to get involved in those initiatives or projects, or they keep their heads down and try not to rock the boat. You see a lot of these kind of human reactions to technology because of the fear of being replaced. And leadership teams need to address that. You have to create an environment where you ask the difficult questions, you answer the difficult questions. And yes, there will be a situation where certain kinds of roles will shift. Certain tasks that you're currently doing will not be necessary because they could be automated. But this is a natural cycle that happens across the board. With every industrial revolution, we saw a similar shift happening. The only difference is with AI, it's just an accelerated pace. And so coming back to the question of, will my role be replaced? The fundamental conversation has to be had. If there are people within the organization who may be replaced with AI, the solution is not to put out a press announcement and say, hey, you're going to be replaced. But the solution is to sit down with those teams and have that conversation around, is there somewhere else we can put you? Is there something else you could be doing? Or is there no place for you in the organization because of this transformation? 9 out of 10 times I see organizations that take this approach, they can actually reposition people into governance, into oversight, into different kinds of roles. and different functions where they can still add value, and you don't lose that sort of tacit knowledge that people have built as they are in an organization for a number of years. You can actually leverage off of that and better utilize AI. And so I'm always an advocate for taking a human-centered approach towards technology.
Kamales Lardi, thank you so much for coming in and talking to us about your new book, Artificial Intelligence for Business, Harness AI for Value, Growth and Innovation. Thank you so much for this.
Thank you as well, Tim.
As I say, it's the book that if you want to know about how to apply AI to business, it's the book to read. So where can I get a copy of it?
Kogan Page website, or on Amazon or any book retailer.
And where can we find you?
kamaleslardi.com or lardipartner.com, and I'm very active on LinkedIn.
You are very active. If anyone wants to find you, they will find you on LinkedIn. If they don't find you on LinkedIn, they're not trying hard enough. Thank you so much. It's just such an interesting subject, and thank you for adding that book to the conversation and the discussion. It's something that I think is so needed.
Thank you as well. It was a great pleasure to join you here today.
Thank you so much. Thank you.